Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Chatter. Today many Americans are going crazy with gun hysteria. They are fixating on the wrong tactic when dealing with crime involving weapons. The simple fact is, banning guns, or even certain parts of guns, does not work. The premise that people will follow the law and that crime will drop is a misperception. When you make something a crime, then crime immediately goes up, because no one will instantly know that their activities are now criminal. Plus, criminals don't obey the law anyway. So if you say they can't have something, then they'll go find someone else to sell it to them. Banning certain parts arms criminals with those parts, and gives them an edge over someone without them. You may have heard of this as something called a get, like the nuclear weapons get. This also creates the problem of black market trading, which is basically a tax dodge due to it being an unregulated sale. Then it costs law-abiding citizens more in taxes to pay for enforcing the new laws. Prohibition simply does not work in an economic sense. An armed person stands a better chance of defending themselves from a person trying to commit a crime. Remember that along with power comes responsibility. Taking power away from a responsible person gives all the power to the irresponsible criminal. Plus, it doesn't take into account criminal rehabilitation. A law that doesn't allow previous offenders who have gone through rehab successfully to regain their rights is basically saying that reform never works. However, criminal recidivism is down to 22% of previous violent offenders committing another violent act. So in a society that claims to have the moral of forgiveness and an ideology of redemption, it is a hypocritical way of governing members of your society. Rights should be returned to offenders that have gone through the rehabilitation process. Unfortunately, society tends not to trust them anymore. Let us all remember, to err is human. To really screw up you need bureaucracy. Now I ask you, did the Brady Bill keep anyone from getting shot? Well, yes, but regardless of any lives it may have saved, people are still getting shot and killed. Remember, before a criminal commits a crime, they are just a law-abiding citizen. People that are considered good may do something bad, especially if they are basing their actions on hysteria rather than recorded facts. The big fact is, you don't even need bullets, but it really only takes one bullet to kill. Take Dick Cheney. By all rights, he probably is innocent of a malicious and near-fatal hunting accident against one of his close friends and colleagues. However, he never apologized. Instead, it was his friend that apologized, and he did it on TV. This is why it doesn't seem right, and also why it looks like there might be more to the story. Either way, the facts are that his group was walking in a line, inside of a fenced-in hunting preserve, with stock birds. It is said that the bird flew past Dick, so he turned as he shot at it. They also said that they drank beer at lunch. As a hunter with a hunting license, he knows this is prohibited behavior because of the danger this puts his hunting group in. Plus, if I had a friend to shoot in the face, I'd apologize. If he or she actually survived. But, you may say, we were at war and he was the vice president. That's no excuse, America. In the very least, he should have his hunting license suspended, or be fined. And just because we are at war is no reason to give someone a free pass. Remember Nixon? We were going to impeach him and he resigned. And why did he resign? Because he committed a crime and it didn't even involve a gun. This was when we were still at war in Vietnam. And that was not an undefined war like the war on terror. Not surprisingly, Nixon is also one of the people that is supporting the gun control laws. Another group of supporters are victims of gun-related accidents. In fact, Representative Jim Langevin, a Democrat from Rhode Island, is one of their spokespeople. He was put in a wheelchair at 16 when he was a Boy Scout, and, as a cadet, was watching trained police officers examine a gun in a locker room that they thought was unloaded. The gun went off and the bullet ricocheted off a locker and severed Jim's spine at the neck. Why is he for gun control when his own case was an accident by a trained adult? A gun ban won't stop cops from owning guns, and it won't stop accidents, gang-related violence, terrorism, or serial killers with sniper rifles. To put it simply, and I'm sorry I have to point this out, but shit happens. Gun control laws don't deal with the problems that caused the crime in the first place. The debate is really centering on guns harming children. In fact, the big incident in Connecticut was just another moment that pushed the issue into the news. But let's look at the facts. Despite all the security knowing the offender, who was a teenager, despite the fact they had a new security system and cameras, despite an earlier incident with the same kid a day or two before the incident, he was not only allowed to walk in wearing a bulletproof vest but carrying firearms. This is a security failure that is so incomprehensible it makes little sense. But that is not the root of the problem. The problem is that the kid was mentally ill. There is no law that can protect anyone from the mentally ill. And I don't mean the mentally ill are criminals or bad. They're just not always able to control their thoughts, perceptions, or actions. This is part of the human tragedy of life. Sometimes it's harmless, like an old man dancing naked in a nursing home. And sometimes it's far more horribly painful to witness. I weep for the families of all gun-related crimes, especially when innocents are involved by just being in the area but aren't primarily involved in the crime or accident itself. It's hard not to be emotional over this issue. But let me put it into a historical context. Britain had banned the import of firearms and gunpowder to the American colonies. Then they started confiscating both of those items from the citizens. And Britain enforced these gun control laws with their armed militia, the Redcoats. When the colonies declared independence, everyone that owned a gun in the colonies was a suspected revolutionary. If they had a bayonet, they were even more suspicious. Of course, even gathering in large groups was suspicious. This is why the Bill of Rights states, and I quote, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed." This means that a militia, or military, is needed for a nation's security, and that the people still have a right to keep and bear arms, but the last part says, it shall not be infringed. I repeat, this right shall not be infringed. And for the layman, infringed means to lessen, diminish, confine, or otherwise be taken away. So, basically, gun control laws are illegal and are against our Bill of Rights. And if someone can take away your right to defend your freedom, then they can take the rest of your rights with their right to be the only ones with the firepower. Remember, people sometimes do bad things, and if you can't defend yourself, then you will be a victim. The point is this. You can't pass laws due to hysteria when it is only going to serve to take away your rights. In fact, when handguns were banned in 1976, the murder rate rose in Washington, D.C. and the entire country. But, in 1987, Florida saw a drop in murder due to a new conceal and carry law. This happened in many other states as well. So laws do not matter because crime happens regardless, and often the law enables criminals to have easy pickings during their next crime. England is the same with gun control laws in 1968 and 1997. However, murder over there has risen on average exponentially, with brief drops and followed by bigger spikes. There is also statistical data that points to the fact that knife-related violence goes up as well. And you are far more likely to get into a fatal accident in or around cars. So why aren't people trying to ban Ginsu blades in SUVs? I know. This episode is pretty serious, so I will try to end on a few jokes. Again, I mean no slight to any family member of any victim. So since we can't ban guns and we can't ban the mentally ill, I propose we ban children. Before you get mad, let me explain myself. You all know I love to elaborate on the subject of my cloning technology. And that is my point. You can clone. You don't have to have kids. Think how many marriages this will save. Also, think of all the money it will save. It might even make child molestation a thing of the past. And, since kids are often the perpetrators and victims of these most tragic incidents, We take them out of the equation and the problem no longer exists. I know, you say you have a right to the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, that is actually in the Declaration of Independence, not the Bill of Rights. No one has the right to be happy in America. That is just a bonus of living a good life according to your own ideology. Plus, banning kids will make adults happy, because they will never have to deal with teenagers again. Just think about it. Thank you for watching. Please, don't ban guns, just behave yourselves.